atomic gigantification was a sweeping Japan nation when along came a dude with an ultra attitude, a common rider who's the greatest kicker of Japan. And of all, man, life's too short now, baby, to not talk big now, baby.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to a brand new episode of Kaiju Conversation. I'm your host, Elijah, and joining me as always, my lovely co-host.
Hello, I am Rex.
And we are back at it again here after recording for a lot of weeks in a row. Granted, There was a 2-week hiatus, but we are back.
That hiatus wasn't real.
Yeah, it really wasn't. We were working and doing everything else. We are back at it again for our first episode of June. And man, this year has flown by.
Yeah, it's kind of terrifying.
It is, and we've done a lot of work. Wait, so this is the 6th month. We are officially halfway done with the year of Kaiju Conversation.
Well, not quite halfway, but close to it.
We're like, once this episode goes live, we're like a week and a half, 2 weeks away from the halfway point.
Yeah.
So both you and I somehow have been sick around the same time.
I know. Wasn't it like basically the same days?
Yes, it was, because I messaged you and you were like, I'm sick today. And I was like, really? Because like I'm sick too. I was congested. I had a runny nose, still kind of do. And then I had, like, my throat was sore. And then I just kind of felt, I just felt sick.
Hey, same.
So what I'm hearing is somehow we both got each other sick through just, like, my webcam and the audio waves going through this microphone.
Are you saying it's all your fault?
No, I'm saying this is your fault.
My fault?
Yeah.
What did I do?
You watched a video online and you shared your voice, and because you shared your voice with me, now I was infected.
God damn. This is going to turn ring any second.
You could say that it was a ring virus.
I knew where you were going with that.
It's like the plot of Rings. Right? Because that was an online viral video thing.
Yeah, the short film.
Not the short film, the 2017 film with John Galecki from The Big Bang Theory.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they took that idea from the short film titled Rings.
Maybe. I watched that short film, but I don't remember it being like that. I thought it was just like... that's
that
right.
Whole, like, internet cult thing, and that sort of feeds into the first act of the 2017 Rings.
Gotcha. But it took place in between The Ring and The Ring 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I still have to watch The Ring 2 and then Rings, but
I've seen them both. I've seen them both.
Just that you've seen them both?
Yeah. I'll give The Ring 2 this.
It's directed by Hideo Nakata.
It's not his worst Ring movie.
That goes to Sadako, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. But before we go too much into The Ring, which, once again, we cannot escape it, here we are almost a year later. We were talking pre-cast about this. We've been podcasting for almost a year straight. Jesus
Christ. It does not feel like that at all. It feels like it's been like maybe 8 months at absolute most is what it feels like.
I don't know. Maybe for me it's just been because like I've been tormenting myself having 6-day weeks and whatnot, but it almost feels like it's been longer than a year.
Damn.
But I've enjoyed it. It's been a great ride. We've been doing so good. So that means it's almost been a year since the Ring joke started. It's almost been a year since... I mean, we're not almost at a year for it. We still have half a year away, but the Shin Ultraman's connected to every Tokusatsu ever joke. And how Adam Wingard is an awful director and Godzilla vs. Kong is the worst movie of all time joke has...
I mean, let's be honest, you and I were basically on that path even before bringing the podcast back with that joke.
This is true, but, like, it's just become our things. It's our things now. So, yeah, here we are. We're back at it again.
The podcast cost me a lot of money for Ring.
The podcast cost me a lot of money.
Oh, yeah, but
in general.
For a few other things.
Moving on beyond my shortcomings and whatnot, here we are. We just wrapped up Star Wars month. After wrapping up Kawasaki month, we've been recording for 2 months straight.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice.
Insane.
We're kind of insane, you know. We're
him.
You agreed to it, so you have 50% of the insanity too.
That's why I said mainly.
No, it's 50-50.
Yeah, but you're more insane in general.
That's true, because I have to stay up.
Exactly.
Next year we're going to have you stay up all night, and you can do it.
Oh boy. That'll be interesting.
Rex is like, nope, I'm not doing that. For anybody who doesn't know, this month we will have a exciting spin-off episode called the Monster Conversation Annual number 2, which is Nathan Marchand and I, Nathan Marchand of the Monster Island Film Vault, share a birthday together. At the end of this month, contrary to Rex's feelings, I was born. Rex is like, man, if he wasn't born, I wouldn't have all of this stuff I gotta do.
Oh, life would be just so much easier. No more running around.
Making Ring jokes. If I wasn't born, you may have never been introduced to Ring.
No, I'd seen The Ring before already.
But you would have not fallen into the spiral you did of watching. Why do you have to say it like that every time? Stop. You would have not fallen into the spiral of watching all of the Ring movies.
Mad. I'm actually going mad.
And short films and TV shows.
God, maybe it will be 50% insanity.
But I would like to think that this is your best timeline. But
I was hoping there'd be a slightly better timeline out there, but thanks.
But at the end of the month, we'll have that special episode. This month, we're slowing down. We'll have that. We have this episode, and then we also have a bonus episode that's already been recorded and edited for you guys to enjoy. So this month, I mean, you're still going to get potentially 4 episodes, but we are slowing down a little bit just so we have a little bit of a breather. Because it's been crazy. It's been crazy.
Yeah.
And we're still doing this after getting over being sick. So look at us just trucking along here. But beyond that, Rex, how have you been?
Oh, minus the sickness, pretty good.
Good. Anything exciting happen in the last week?
Not really, from what I remember.
See,
I hope
that's
I'm not
something
going too crazy because I'm struggling to remember what happened this week.
See, that's something that, like, because we record weekly, we've discovered our lives are actually really boring.
It happens.
On my end, I don't really think anything exciting's happened. I feel like, well, no, there was a few things, but they weren't to me. They were just things that were announced. Shin Kamen Rider actually got an extension on its theatrical dates. I'm kind of hoping I can pick up a second showing.
Meanwhile, the Japanese release is coming to a close.
This is true. And then we also got the announcement that SRS Cinema is releasing Daiei's 1961 The Whale God.
Gotta say, that was a pleasant surprise.
So I guess I can talk about it. I in that special meeting that I've referenced a few times, I was told that back before Arrow announced Gamera, the box set, the first one, SRS was trying to work with Katakawa to do the God Whale.
Okay.
So this is like 2018. 2019. They were in talks to get the God Whale. They were like literally an email away from saying, you have the rights for this price, for this distribution. We agree. And then Arrow announced that they were doing the Gamera box set. And Arrow was probably able to give them a little bit more money and treat their films a little better than what SRS could do. So because of that, Katakawa actually just stopped emailing SRS entirely. So at that point, it kind of felt like, well, Arrow will pick up the rights. We're not going to get it. We're SOL. Which was the case, because Arrow did all 12 Gamera films, and then they did the 3 Daimajin films, and then they did the 4 Yokai films, and then they did the 2 Invisible Man movies, and then Snake Girl, Silver-Haired Witch. Even in 2019, they were doing like the 4 Ring movies, the 3, because all of them were owned by Katakawa, the 3 One Missed Call movies, plus the 2 short films, the 3 Dead or Alive movies, Pulse even. And I want to say that's it when it comes to Katakawa and Daiei Katakawa, and Arrow.
I see.
So they were like working with Katakawa was working with Arrow very extensively, and then I think it's because of this. Fran Simonia, the like main guy behind Arrow's catalog, like he would be the one that messaged people and got rights and made deals. He left the company. He went and started Radiance Films, which is like an SRS cinema, except with somebody who's way more experienced in producing content for each release. He started his own company that does UK distribution, but because he worked with Arrow, he has contacts to release them stateside as well.
Okay.
So he started his own little thing, and Arrow since then has really just not done anything on the Kaiju Tokusatsu front. Yeah. They worked with Toei for 2 titles, Horrors of Malformed Men and Wolf Guy when it comes to that stuff. They worked with Toho for the Bloodthirsty trilogy. They worked with Miike on Terraformers, and that's pretty much it. Like but all of those were like years prior to really the Gamera stuff and anything like that.
Yeah.
So Arrow just kind of dropped all of the Japanese genre films. They've done a few like legacy titles, but they haven't really done anything outside of that. I know
they
people
did the Ju-on set, to be fair, in the UK.
They did do Ju-on, but it was UK exclusive. They didn't work with Katakawa to do. They have a ton of Ghost Cat movies. There's a few Invisible, like Swordsman, Invisible, Hunter, I think is another one. There's a few like Invisible Persons movies they never did. They didn't do The Demon of Mount O or Buddha, The Whale God. Like all of these titles just kind of...
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about Katakawa movies that Arrow hasn't done, I dub in Ring sequels.
Right, yeah, because you have Sadako 3D, Sadako 3D 2, Sadako
Kayako,
Sadako DX.
Yeah, I mean DX I could give them a pass for because that being recent.
Right. There's even
and on a similar line as that, Great Yokai Guardians.
Right, and that came out around the time that they did the yokai set.
Yeah.
And the way they set up the box set is they left Great Yokai to its like own release, because it seemed like they would eventually release it to pair up with Great Yokai War Guardians. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually pulling it up right now. I have a list of all of the stuff they didn't touch. So there's Snow Woman. There's a ton of ghost stories, which there's there's a lot. Whale God, Demon of Mount O, Nitron and the Great Mongol Invasion, Buddha. Oh, I also forgot to mention they did Warning from Space. But there's also like Tokyo Blackout and Wind Velocity 75 meters, aka Typhoon Reporter. Rainbow Man, Broomba, Claws of Iron, Invisible Demon, Invisible Swordsman, Virus, The Day of Destruction, which Arrows did Battle Royale, and they talk about Kinshi Fukusaku a lot, so I'm surprised they never touched that. There's something called Suzo no Suke Ariko Collection, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 movies. And then there's their Kaidan Ghost Stories, which there's about a dozen of those. And then their Ghost Cat series, which it looks like there's half a dozen of those. Like, there's still a ton of content for Arrow to do, but they just didn't do it.
Yeah.
So my guess is Arrow has stopped. I mean, not only has Arrow announced that they're reducing their content to make sure they don't have any more disc recalls, because they were having a lot of those. But it just seems like they're not doing the Japanese stuff as much. I think it's because you have like to subtitle interviews and subtitle trailers and the movies themselves and sync it all up, and maybe like sync dubs and like get approval for all this bonus material, and then still get people to like, translate synopses or the credits and whatnot. So it might just be they don't want to spend the time on it. I don't know. But a year has passed since really any Arrow Video Daiei Katakawa stuff, and here we have the announcement that SRS is doing the God Whale. Few things I'm going to point out. One, it's going to be a very nice transfer from what I've been told. It's definitely coming to Blu-ray. But my concerns are, one, I feel like they're going to make the artwork not look like Arrow. So I wish Arrow would get it, because Arrow would do better artwork. I'm already guaranteeing that it's going to look kind of like a cash grab, little over dramatic, the SRS release. It's going to have better graphic design. Like, SRS's is simplistic and nice, but it's not good. It's very simplistic and basic. And I don't know if Ron's going to be able to like make the subtitles look nice, or pay somebody to do a very well put together commentary, or create like nice bonus material, because SRS has not done that. SRS either has hoped that the fans would submit stuff, or it just is bare bone, or whatever the Japanese studio offers them. Which is concerning to me.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely does suck. I mean, the fact that we probably aren't going to get like the best possible release, no matter what, that does suck. But at least we are getting it. There's like, at least the film isn't just doomed to be trapped to only Japan or maybe some other regions where it's gotten release,
Right.
Because a lot of foreign films are just gonna forever essentially be trapped in their home countries.
But another thing I am a little worried about is like all of SRS's past releases have been pretty much with individuals. So they can do Region 0 and like not worry about like Because Region Zero, that means they have international distribution rights. And when it's an individual, like, they don't have to worry about that.
Mm-hmm.
With Space Monster Wing Mogwai, they had to work with the Korean Film Archive, which is like an establishment, but even then, it's still not a studio. Like, the Korean Film Archive's not worried about backwards importation, whatnot. They just want money.
Yeah.
However, Kadokawa definitely is going to be concerned about backwards importation.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like, remember the Gamera set, that even the Region A US Blu-ray, it's not region locked.
This is true.
And, they don't really care much for Gamera. How much are they going to care about this one film, Maybe they do. Maybe I don't know how well regarded Whale God is amongst classic Japanese cinema goers, but just at least in the Tokusatsu fandom, it's very, very, very obscure.
Right. The only thing I would say that Whale God has that's really this is a prestigious film is it's got Takashi Shimura. Yep, it's got Akira Ifukube, and then it also has what's his name?
Zatoichi?
Yes, it has Zatoichi.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, I don't know if Kadokawa would use that and be like, well, because it's got these three
I mean, the SRS announcement, I don't think even makes any mention of Zatoichi's actor being in it.
It does. It was the Sci-Fi Japan reveal that didn't.
Okay.
Because Keith did the Sci-Fi Japan post, and he just transferred, did a scan of a cast and crew, and it did include that actor, so he just didn't include it.
Mm-hmm.
It just brought up Akira Ifukube and Takashi Shimura, which admittedly...
And Kojiro Hongo.
Right. Which admittedly, if we're being technical here, that doesn't surprise me because those three actors and composers would be recognized by kaiju fans. But I will say this, from the research that I did and I've shared with you, God Whale is technically the second kaiju movie, or it's the first kaiju movie, the second kaiju product of the 1960s, which is pretty cool. Because Marin Kong, which was a TV show, was in 1960. God Whale was 61 before Mothra, to my understanding. So, but people have also said, it's not actually a kaiju movie. It's just a giant whale.
Mm-hmm.
So, some people might get disappointed, and I've also been told it's not really in the movie for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still exciting nonetheless.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this. Would you say this is more... Which announcement do you think's better or more significant? God Whale, which is from Kadokawa, one of the 5 major studios of Japan, it is the earliest Daikaiju movie. It is one of the first kaiju products of the 1960s. Or Space Monster Wing Mogwai, the third kaiju movie from Korea, the second full-length feature film, or just found film?
I don't know. I feel like Wang Mogwai might be more significant just for how, rare it was, and the interesting case of, it for a long while being believed to have been lost.
Right. Now, I will say this, and I think this is something too. I think Wang Mogwai, when we look back in retrospective, because with the God Whale announcement, there was also the reveal that there's a second announcement coming. Actually, it's coming this following week as of recording, which was apparently major. So I'll get to you what I think here. So Space Monster Wing Mogwai, Ron had to pay a pretty penny for.
Yeah.
On top of that, he paid Matt Frank to do the logo and the cover art, which he does not he charges a pretty penny too. So, like, it was going to be expensive. I'm not going to be surprised if Matt Frank ends up doing the God Whale as well.
Yeah, I'm anticipating it.
That was a very expensive title. However, because of the fan submissions, it became a very loaded, probably borderline like copyright infringing because of one of the menus. And, you know, I feel like you could argue that it's a little amateurish because of those bonus features included on the release. It still was a success. It, to my understanding, is the best-selling Blu-ray that Ron has put out that's Kaiju or Tokusatsu.
Really?
Because, I mean, he printed more of those than Howl. Howl, he did not print as much as Space Monster Wing Mogwai. Wing Mogwai got a bigger release and has sold more. But because of how well it sold, I think Ron got the confidence to go back to Katakawa and offer a significant sum for God Whale in hopes that when he releases that, it'll have a Wing Mogwai hit. Which brings me to what I was going to say. So, the second film. So, I have a few guesses. I was talking with some of my other online friends about it. And so my 5 predictions for what the 2 announcements were this. God Whale, I was right. What to Do with the Dead Kaiju, Yuzo, Yongu and Dinosaur Zuzu, and Outer Man. Those are the predictions I have. Okay. Now, I feel like Yongu and Dinosaur Zuzu probably won't happen.
Yeah, I feel that's the most unlikely.
I think Outer Man might have a rights issue because of it's right now Midnight Pulp is airing it on Amazon Prime, so there's at least a streaming thing with it. So I don't see that.
So that'd block a to-be release theoretically from SRS.
Which leaves 2. You have Yuzo, The Biggest Battle in Tokyo, which is owned by Nikkatsu because Yoshikazu Ishii sold that to Nikkatsu for international distribution rights. Or What to Do with the Dead Kaiju, which was a co-production between Toei and Shochiku, but Toho distributed. It was Toei distributed.
It was was it Shochiku?
It was Toei.
One or
because,
two of them.
Because
one or the other.
I remember in an interview they said they wanted Toei's distribution because Toei has some of the best distribution in Japan beyond Toho.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Toho owns basically all the theaters anyway.
Right, so. And I think the ones they don't own, is what Toei owns, I'm pretty sure.
Which is probably like 2 cinemas, to be honest.
Yeah. So that would be a Toei Shochiku acquisition or a Nikkatsu. The reason I think it's Yuzo is, and I guess I can say this, I've seen Yuzo. I attended the world premiere, international worldwide premiere. Ishii-san wants it to be distributed in America. Ron, when Ishii announced that it was up for licensing, I shot Ron a message and I said, "Hey Ron, I've seen this movie. You should definitely pick it up." And Ron wants to pick it up. Ron's wanted to pick it up for a while, actually.
Yeah, I don't doubt that.
And he has a good relationship with Ishii-san. The only problem is Nikkatsu picked up the distribution rights, so he has to go through Nikkatsu. I think that's what he'll end up doing. And I'll just say, if it is that, he already definitely has some stuff on it to make it a little bit better than some of his other releases. But I don't really want to. I don't want to promise anything until it's officially in writing. So I think it'll be Yuzo. Though I know What to Do with the Dead Kaiju is definitely up there as well if we're talking about major acquisitions. Unless he got, and some people have suggested like Demon of Mount O, which you've seen that film.
Yeah.
Would you want it to be that, or would you rather it be like Yuzo or What to Do with the Dead Kaiju?
I mean, I'd want it to be like either like I'd probably want it to be Yuzo most, just because I mean, that's the one I haven't seen out of like those three. I've seen What to Do with Dead Kaiju and Mount Oe. So yeah, no, because Yuzo, to my understanding, outside of like the couple of festival showings it has had, doesn't really have any like physical release at the moment, to my understanding.
Correct. It was aired twice. It was shown twice in the States, and then it was shown in film festivals in Japan.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, at least in What to Do with the Dead Kaiju and, like, Mount Oe's case, they have had some capacity of release, not only, like, theatrically, but they've also had physical releases, at least in their home country, you know?
Right. So we'll see what it is. I really hope it's Yuzo. That will be
I think it'd
really.
Be Yuzo.
I feel like it's going to be Yuzo.
Mm-hmm.
And the day that's announced, I'm going to have to be making some messages. The only thing I will say is we could have a problem because if Nikatsu's running it, granted, they seem like they don't really care because Media Blasters has released a decent amount of Nikatsu stuff and they just kind of put on whatever. But, you know, it could be something where they don't want special features, which would be kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
But to my understanding, the only studio that is stingy like that is Toho. So I guess we'll see. We'll see. But beyond that, we have an exciting episode for you today. Right before we get into that, we have to ask the question, what tokusatsu have you watched? So Rex, go ahead. What tokusatsu have you watched?
Oh, well, outside of the shows that I started a few weeks back and are still continuing, like V3, I also started another Sentai series, my second Super Sentai series, Samurai Sentai Shinkenger.
Is that the one with the trains?
No, that's Tokuga.
Okay.
Which it was like a couple years after, I want to say.
Gotcha.
I have seen the crossover Tokuga did with Kamen Rider Gaim, though.
Gotcha. So is that like the Shin Super Sentai in air quotes?
No, it's just the Samurai Sentai.
Oh, was it Power Rangers Samurai?
Yeah, that.
Okay.
Yeah, it was adapted into that. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know Sentai, so that's why I'm asking questions, just so I can learn a little bit.
Yeah. No, I'm still learning a lot about Sentai.
I
don't know very much either.
I know Zoo Ranger became Mighty Morphin Season 1. I know O Ranger was Season 2 of Mighty Morphin, and Kaku Ranger was Season 3.
You see, I don't even know that outside of the Zhu Ranger becoming Mighty Morphin.
Oh, and Jetman was used for an unaired pilot of Power Rangers.
Oh, right. I've heard of that in the past.
And then they got adapted into 3 movies, and 2 of them included CGI. Well, there's also a bonus, like, special movie that didn't include any footage from Sentai, I think, which was Once and Always, but that's all I really know. My knowledge is very limited.
Yeah, as is mine.
Also, I think Car Ranger became Turbo because Car and Turbo, or it was RPM. I don't know. I don't know. That's a Michael.
Right,
that's a Michael and Nathan conversation. They know way more than I do.
Yeah, you'll probably get a message from them correcting you on all the terms and stuff.
It wouldn't be the first time they've messaged me to correct something I say.
outside of that, I actually watched a J-horror movie as well.
Oh,
A film in English. It's called Remember or Re/Member.
okay.
In Japanese, it's Karada Sagashi, which means body search, and it's on Netflix.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I
pretty recent
remember.
film.
Is it? What year was it released?
2022. It's the film that beat Sadako DX at the box office in terms of like J-horror.
I love that. Because I remember in one of our most recent episodes, I was actually asking you what series you're going to jump on. Have you continued the Tomei series?
Tomie?
Yeah.
Last time did I mention that I had seen Tomie Replay?
Yes. And you said Revenge was the next one?
Rebirth is the next one.
Yes. Yep.
I have not watched Rebirth yet. I haven't gotten around to it.
Gotcha.
Honestly, I wasn't even intending... I didn't intend on watching a J-horror movie on, like, the day I watched Remember. It just kind of happened.
Gotcha.
But I actually quite enjoyed it. You know, at first, like, the first act or so, I was first, like, 20-ish minutes or so was a bit iffy. I wasn't huge on the movie, but then I kind of realized what it was going for as like a teen horror movie rather than like a super serious, like 100% playing it straight one.
Gotcha.
Once I got what it was going for, I had a good time.
Gotcha.
Even if the characters are still kind of idiots at points. And like the movie skips over some things that are pretty important. Like there's this one character who's kind of like a loner, and he's supposed to have an arc of him, like, you know, not being a loner and like interacting with the group and all that.
Right.
They introduce that, and then like 20 minutes later, they have the resolution for that, but you don't see any of his development happen.
Oh, well, that's disappointing.
So there's a couple of things like that where the movie does that sort of stuff and kind of skips over things, etc. The tone is a little off at times with it just... There's some very clashing moments, but overall I still had a fun time with it.
Gotcha. Well, that's good.
And there was this... I was surprised to see a practical monster in it.
I love that. I was hearing that.
I was not expecting that at all, but the movie kind of threw a wrench near the end, and I was like, oh, damn. We're not just doing a red ghost girl. Interesting.
I love that. I love hearing when stuff like that happens.
Yeah.
What else have you watched?
Well, that's more or less it. There is another movie I watched that I think hopefully you would have watched. Right?
See, I don't remember watching any tokusatsu.
Again, really?
Yeah. I've just been so busy. Like,
you sure you didn't watch anything?
I feel like there was something. There was swords and there was jumping and kicking and
fighting. Have you finally gotten into Kamen Rider 1971?
No, unfortunately not.
Damn it.
Yeah, I know. I'm such an awful person.
Yeah, you are.
I want to say it was based off of something iconic. God,
I did watch. Speaking of iconic movies, I did watch a film recently called Lady Snowblood.
Did you?
Yes. I totally did not plan to watch that in preparation of a certain June episode of Kaiju Conversation or anything.
Wait a minute. It's June. It's my birth year. It's my birth month, which means you got to pick the movie.
Yes.
And I told you not to pick this movie, but you picked the movie.
Yes.
That's right. Yes, I did watch a tokusatsu movie, and it was called,
you can't even remember its name.
The Princess of... It was not the Princess of Mario World. It was, The Princess Blade. That's
Oh,
right.
wow. That's crazy. I did not know
Yeah.
that because that's what I watched.
Bro, no way. So yes, we are covering The Princess Blade from 2001.
Also known as Lady Snowblood or Hiroyuki Hime.
Which I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
What?
That this was an adaptation of Lady Snowblood. That was something I was surprised
Really?
when I first. So this is my second time watching the movie, and I didn't know that first time watching. I feel like if I did, I would have been a little more disappointed.
I mean, to be fair, in it being a remake or reimagining of Lady Snowblood, it's really loose.
Right.
It's a very loose adaptation.
It's kind of like how Legend of Eight Samurai was very loosely based off of the original Satomi Heikinen.
Yeah. I haven't read
at least
the manga, but I did prepare by watching the Meiko Kaji film, and yeah, two very different beasts.
right. And what's funny is both of the writers for the manga actually got credit in the film. So, for anybody who doesn't know who they are, it's Kazuo Koike and Kazuo Kimamura.
Yeah.
They also did the Lone Wolf and Cub mangas. So I don't want to dive too much into the production facts here. I'd like to kind of just jump right into the movie and go back around to those factoids at the end here.
Okay.
If you want to do that.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Okay. So, Rex, usually I start this, so I'm going to let you take us away here, starting at our opening credits.
Okay. So, the opening credits, after them, we get our title card, Shiroyuki Hime, or before them, sorry. And then we are sort of given, a narration and some on-screen text to explain, the context of this world, which is sort of like, it's sort of dystopian-esque, where the country, unnamed, but obviously meant to be like Japan, has completely isolated itself from the world, which Japan did do in real life for a fair long time.
Right.
In this time, there has been a lot of rebellion against the government, and which is being attempted to be suppressed by the state. And so, one of their main forces of the states one of the government's main forces is a clan called the House of Takemazu. How do I say it?
It's all you, buddy. It's all you.
The House of Takemikazuchi.
Real quick, so the film came out in 2001.
Yeah.
But they're using swords, and the original story was set in the Meiji period.
Yeah.
But there's also 90s vehicles, but there's also futuristic technology and computers from the 80s. And there's guns.
Oh, the 80s computer, it's borderline 70s, I'd argue, computers.
This is true.
They're using 70s sound effects from Alien.
I was going to bring that up, the Alien sound effects from Mother. I was curious to hear what you thought of that, because you're
Yeah.
I love Alien too, but you're obsessed and love that stuff.
Yeah, as my name implies.
Yeah. So, do we ever find out what period this is set in?
No,
Or
it's just some 500. It's very vague.
Okay. Also, I wanted to bring up real quick that the music right from the get-go is very intense in this movie.
Kenji Kawai score.
Yeah. But keep going, because you brought up how we're kind of being the stage is being set.
Yeah.
It's also very bleak too. All the color in this film is really, really bleak, very 2000s.
Oh yeah. So the House of Mikazuchi God, usually you're the one who's butchering pronunciations.
Hey, it just goes to show it's not just me.
It is just you, but this is a long name, okay? So yeah, this clan are essentially a group of assassins whom, in the past, were actually from I think it's suggested that they're from like another country or kingdom, as it's called, but
Yes.
that got destroyed, and so they've essentially migrated to here.
And now they're basically killers for hire.
Not hired guns, hired assassins.
Swords, yeah.
Yeah, hired swords. That's it. And so the first thing we're shown is an action sequence of them assassinating a group of people. I don't really know. I don't remember them explaining who they
don't
are.
They don't. From what I was able to find out, though, the action coordinator Donnie Yen, who has worked extensively in action films like the John Wick movies and the IP Man movies and a ton of Hong. How do you say it?
Ip Man.
Ip Man. Ip Man. Well, he's big enough to be an IP man.
Yeah, just casually dropping Donnie Yen's name. I was shocked when I saw he was in the credits of this.
I was shocked when I saw Shinji Higuchi in the credits. I didn't realize
that too.
Yeah. But Donnie Yen said he wanted to showcase their talent. So they started like the reason they started the film off that way was to showcase it. Yeah. Even though it is a little weird, they're like standing on a flat concrete surface with no sky, and then they run forward, and then suddenly they're in a field.
Yeah,
it kind of reminds me.
And then they leave back to the blank surface.
It kind of reminds me of like Kamen Rider and Sentai, where they magically appear in a quarry every episode somehow.
Well, not every episode, but yeah, they do it a lot.
Most of them.
So, sometimes it doesn't really make any sense, like when it happens the umpteenth time in Kamen Rider Black. Where suddenly the monster just takes him out the building and it's a rock quarry or something.
Mm-hmm. Or like they'll be in like downtown Japan and then they'll do a flip.
Yeah.
And then suddenly gotta love it. Gotta love no budget.
I mean it's, to be fair, a lot of the locations they shot in at that time were like, they didn't often have the permits to shoot there, so...
Right. To have a permit, it was like the whole budget of the series, so...
Yeah.
But, sorry I interrupted you. Please continue.
Okay. So yeah, after assassinating these random dudes, they leave and go back to base where our main character, Yuki, the titular Lady Snowblood, has a dream of herself in the forest and where she sees her mother. She wakes up, and we essentially learn that her mother is deceased, and Yuki is tasked with killing a member of the house of Take Mikazuchi. I'll remember
because
it off
he
the top
ran
of my
off,
head
right?
Eventually. Yeah, he ran off, and he's if he finds anyone they're afraid, he's going to spill their secrets, essentially.
Gotcha. Which leads us to a very quick kill. Like, she goes out and hunts him, and she kills him like within 30 seconds. Which, according to Donnie Yen, a lot of the kills in this movie, especially the quick ones, he took inspiration from like westerns and the gun shootouts. Whoever was the quickest gunman, like, won.
Yeah. This kill especially feels a lot like that.
And it was this sequence specifically where he highlighted that.
Yeah. I mean, even having like, he throws away when she discovers him. He throws away his sword and begs her to spare his life. Possible reference to the original, to one of the characters from the original, maybe. But yeah, and so she's like undeterred and is holding her sword about to strike him.
Which
And then
the way they like use their swords in this movie is really weird, right? Am I the only one that thought that?
I actually watched. I didn't pick up on it, but I watched an interview with Yumiko Shaku, the main actress playing Yuki, on the set, and she actually mentioned that. And apparently, it's sort of the style of Hong Kong filmmaking and how they hold their swords.
Right. It was described.
Japanese style.
It was but they also, so from what because it's funny you brought that up. They wanted to have Japanese swords, but the reason they brought Donnie Yen in was so that the action was different.
Mm-hmm.
So they described it as Japanese stylized sword fights with new Hong Kong action influences, which is what Donnie Yen brought to the table.
Yeah.
And the fact that
there were a few Hong Kong stuntmen as well, I believe, on set.
Right. But when everybody found out he was coming over to Japan to work on the film, everybody was like really surprised.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, going back to what I was saying, she's got a sword ready to strike, just waiting for him. And in the last second, he tries to pull a knife and trick her, but she just slits his throat.
And all the cutting is really quick too. Like,
yeah. Honestly, I knew she slit his throat. I wasn't exactly sure like what her method of doing it was, because she takes her sword out, cuts his throat, and then like it looks like it goes. She has the sword go around his head and then back, and then has it go back into its sheath, which is cool. But I was like, what?
Yeah. No, it's. There's a lot of like quick cuts in this movie when it comes to the action stuff, which I'm sure is
mainly in the first like third of the movie, I'd say.
I would agree with that, and I feel like
it gets a bit more clear in like the latter. Like the latter half of the film,
when they have the wider action sequences, like the wide shots and whatnot. Yeah, I would agree. And I wonder if that's just the Hong Kong influence, because I know at least in like Super Inframan, going back to that movie, there's a lot of quick cuts in that movie, which was Shaw Brothers, which was kind of the forefront to not Japanese, Hong Kong kung fu action movies. I mean, from the 70s.
I don't know, because from what I understand, I could be completely wrong. I am no expert on this by any means, but from what I understand, a lot of Hong Kong, at least in the modern day, a lot of Hong Kong fans of like Hong Kong cinema action aren't a big fan of like the quick editing sort of style that you see in some of these earlier fight scenes in this film. It's in Hong Kong action, I think it's preferred to be a lot more like clear, like just clearly shown, no crazy editing away and all that. No Hideaki Anno style Shin Kamen Rider fights.
See, I wouldn't know because I haven't seen Shin Kamen Rider.
Because I know a few people who were complaining about that and comparing how Hong Kong action sequences are shot more like smoothly, I guess.
Okay. See, I would love to like watch, because that's like Shaw Brothers and like Jackie Chan and all of the kung fu and action movies. I'd love to watch them. I've never gotten around to it ever.
You should. I've seen a couple. They're good. I've seen like Yes, Madam, and I'm very much looking forward to watching Royal Warriors, which has Hiroyuki Sanada. And then the third movie in that series has Kamen Rider himself, Hiroshi Fujioka, in it. So,
But yeah. Anyway, sorry for
unrelated.
So after the fight, they go back, or she goes back to the base with his sword to prove that she's killed him.
Well, not yet. She is going to go back. She picks up his sword, but then she gets approached by a man named Kuka, who essentially reveals to her that her mother was killed by the man who is leading her group, the Takemikazuchi clan.
If
Yes.
I had a shot for every time you messed up the name, I'd be
Shut
drunk by
up.
now.
Shut up, as if you'd be any better.
I hit a nerve there.
I couldn't remember what it was, and I didn't have it written down in front of me.
Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, essentially, he tells her, he shows her, like a
Premonition
thing that, as sort of proof, and then just explains to her that she can either take up the mantle as princess or choose to live the life she's still currently living.
Then she goes back.
Yes, then she goes back, confronts the leader of her group, Byakurai, as he's known, and just attacks him. And he offers to overlook the incident and keep her allegiance essentially, but she declines and leaves. And that's where we get a decent chase scene of her in the forest being chased by all the clan members before she hitches the ride on the back of a truck.
And then the people chasing her go back to the lair, I called it. And did you notice how, like, when she left, it was a disaster, and when they came back, it was like nothing ever happened?
I didn't quite notice it too much. I mean, I guess, yeah.
Like, I don't know, I noticed that I was like, whoa, she, like, tore up everything here, and now it's like nothing ever happened.
You do kind of have a point there thinking about it.
But also, throughout this opening, like, they seem to move from location to location very, very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't really...
This is... I remember, like, thinking, like... during this whole sequence at the end of it, I was like, Jesus, has it... It feels like it's only been 15 minutes, but we're like, jumping, like, 3,000 feet already.
Just like a Kamen Rider episode.
and I look at the time, and I'm like, God, I'm right. It has only been 15 minutes.
A lot happens very quickly, and then a lot slows down.
Yeah,
because at this point, it slows down.
Not quite yet. But
it starts to.
It starts to. Yeah, I'd agree. But I feel this whole intro kind of has one of my complaints with the writing of this film is it's very it's very talky instead of like showing a lot of the things, specifically with like I mean, I can forgive like having an opening narration at the beginning and not really showing all that stuff, even though I really think I think it would have helped the film to actually at least like show footage of that or something, because I kind of forgot most of that information that was told at the beginning up until like very late into the film, where I'm like, oh yeah, they did say this earlier.
But so maybe this is just me, but nobody seems to have emotions.
There's a little bit of emotion near the end.
in the end, but like throughout this entire movie, like every character is like...
Every character is very deadpan serious in this.
And even so, the actor for the quote-unquote love interest, like when he was interviewed, he said that he just wanted to not emote. He just wanted to just say his lines very deadpan because his character basically hated life, and he didn't want to show he hated life. He just wanted it to sound like it.
Mm-hmm.
He did. So his exact words was he didn't want to exaggerate it.
Okay.
Which I don't think he even acted it. I feel like he just said it.
Yeah, no, as I was saying, I think, like, I can forgive the opening text and narration, but I feel having the Kuka character, I want to say, I just think of him as Sadako's uncle, so I'm just going to continue to call him that.
The old man.
The old man, yeah, let's call him that. The old man just explaining, just telling her backstory, and, you know, we don't really see any of it happen on screen, not even in any flashback. That's a boring way of conveying that backstory.
Right.
Especially when you compare it to, like, the original Lady Snowblood, where a good portion of that film is, you know, subject to showing that backstory of Yuki's mother and all that.
Right. Now, and I guess this is in defense, the film had a budget of 135 million yen, which, when you adjust that to modern yen, is 155,700 million yen, 1,557,000 yen, which, when you adjust that into, like, US dollars, it's $7,505.60.
Wow.
So, like, this movie has practically it's working on, like, Roger Corman budget.
Wow. Okay. That makes a little more sense now.
I just flabbergasted you.
Wow.
How much you want to bet most of that budget was spent on getting Donnie Yen?
I think most of that budget was spent on Donnie Yen and the music.
Probably.
And maybe casting Yumiko Shaku as well. Because I imagine that might have cost a bit, given she was, like, a model at the time.
But this was also her first movie, so, like, she probably didn't have...
That's
and
true,
she got
actually.
second billing. She wasn't even top billing.
Really?
Mm-hmm. In the credits, when
billed?
he was top billed, because in the credits the way it's translated is Hideaki Ito is top billed, and then Yumiko Shaku is second billed.
Fancy that.
Yeah, it's kind of like an Arnold Schwarzenegger's above George Clooney and Batman and Robin, which is funny when you think about it.
Contractual obligations.
So going back to the movie, so like you said, we're given a rundown. So after she gets on the truck, she ends up at the quote unquote love interest's house, where he finds her, or his sister finds her. He ties her up, is like, "You're here to kill me," and all that. And she shows that. I mean, I think this is a really cool scene where she, like, shows she can still fight when she's tied up.
Oh, yeah.
And proves that she's not going to kill him, because she said, if I was here to kill you, I would have already been walking out the door.
Yeah.
And then following this is when she goes and finds the old man and gets the rundown of her backstory.
Yeah, which I was surprised how little there was to the backstory in this, at least compared to the original Lady Snowblood. This one, I mean, it's not bad. It's just I was surprised by how little there is to it.
So I want to watch Lady Snowblood. Criterion has a Blu-ray of it, but I have never seen it. So Rex, so we're about at the halfway point. at this juncture, right? Or 30 minutes in out of an
Yeah,
hour and 30. So
30 minutes roughly.
So can you explain, because at essentially after this point it becomes stagnant, trying to develop characters that don't get development. Can you explain up until this point what it follows from the Lady Snowblood story to?
So I mean, so far it's really not. So far at this point in the movie, it's not really followed much outside of the fact that the main character's name is Yuki, and here we're establishing that her goal is to, her goal is to essentially avenge her mother, whom in this movie was killed by the Takamikazuchi clan after the Byakurai became, she denied him of marriage, and also she wanted to essentially leave the clan due to not agreeing with some of their methods.
Mm-hmm.
In the Lady Snowblood movie, I don't know if this differs from the manga, but in the Lady Snowblood film, the original, Meiko Kaji's Lady Snowblood, Yuki, is her mother. The movie starts with her mother giving birth to her. Her mother had sometime prior, just before, at the very beginning of the Meiji period, I believe, essentially a group of, there was a lot of distrust in the Japanese government, with a lot of people being accused of, a lot of men specifically being accused of like being secretly Japanese government officials, and then there were also these essentially scammers, and a group of 4 scammers kills not Yuki's father, but the husband of Yuki's mother, and then Yuki tries to get vengeance by killing those 4. However, after killing the first one, she gets imprisoned, getting a life sentence, and from there she sleeps with as many prison guards as possible so that she can get pregnant. And although she wanted a boy, she ends up having a girl, and essentially wants that girl to take vengeance for her.
Okay.
That's essentially the gist of her backstory. There is also, I think the old man character here is meant to serve the role of Yuki's mentor, but I mean, the difference is that Yuki's mentor spends years training with Yuki from her childhood up until her adulthood, when she finally takes her revenge. Whereas here, the old man character in this film just kind of explains the backstory for her. And then later also reveals he's the one who delivered the killing blow to her mother.
Gotcha. So it doesn't... So from what I'm hearing is, it doesn't really follow... Up until this point, it doesn't really follow that Lady Snowblood story.
I mean, even after this point, it really doesn't follow very much.
Okay. Once we get to the end of the movie, I want you to catch us up with that, because
okay.
I'm curious. I'm curious because, like I said, I've heard so much about Lady Snowblood, the movie.
Yeah. Okay, so from here, slightly before this scene, actually, we're also shown a scene of Takashi getting a mention on his, 1979 vintage alien mother computer.
Complete with sound effects.
Yeah, that just happened to be borrowed from Alien. Yeah, this movie actually has a fair few stock sound effects. I noticed.
I feel like I know what you're talking about, but I don't recall.
I mean, maybe. I mean, some of the sounds of like, there's an action sequence where they have like some piece of metal hit another piece of metal. I don't quite remember which scene it was, and like, just at some points, I'm like, hey, I recognize that sound from Gary's mod. You probably don't know what sound I'm talking about because you don't play video games.
I don't. Everything you said was foreign to me. That's like watching a Japanese movie without subtitles.
Damn. But yeah, he gets a message from a man named Kitakoro asking how you've been. I need to talk to you about something, and this is essentially just to establish a subplot that'll
go nowhere.
Develop in quotation marks later on, but yeah, it ends up adding very little.
It goes nowhere. It goes absolutely nowhere.
I feel it must have been like sequel setup, but the film never got a sequel.
Yes. So yeah, so from here, essentially, so Akane, she and her Yuki and Takashi meet up because she was in the truck, right?
Yeah.
And it's supposed to, like, it feels like they're supposed to be like they're a team, like they're together. They're building this bond, but it never really comes to light because the day after, Yuki goes off and learns about her past, and Takashi has this side story that Yuki just kind of watches. She never really involves herself with it.
Yeah.
And then we have the side plot of, what's the clan's name? Rex?
The Take Mikazuchi.
So they're trying to hunt down Yuki.
Yeah.
And they successfully do while the old man is showing Yuki her past.
Yeah.
They kill him and they go after her. And during this sequence, we actually have some really nice cinematography.
Yeah, and an overall really
fight.
Fun action sequence in a forest. And decent color grading. That's not with overdone blue. It's got like this thing called natural colors,
which is great. I will say the old guy's death kind of was like, oh, he's dead. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it was expected, but like he killed like one person. He didn't do a whole lot.
I mean,
and he's supposed to be, from what I understood in the bonus features, he's supposed to be like this, one of the like old Take clan people.
I mean,
and so like the fact that like he gets dispatched pretty quick is kind of like, oh, okay, bye.
I mean,
you're not significant to the plot.
To be fair, look how old he is.
Yeah, but like earlier, like he was pretty fast when he first walked into.
That's true. That is true, actually.
So I don't know, but following this, so after his death, Yuki fights. She ends up killing this female that felt like she was going to be a more important villain to the plot, but ends up dying.
It felt like they were gonna like develop something with her. There's like clearly some sort of relationship between her and Bianca, the leader of the clan, and she's got some sort of like relation with Yuki
and the old man, because he's like, oh, you've grown so much.
Yeah, that too. It's maybe this is a remnant of like the manga. I don't know.
It made no sense.
It doesn't go anywhere.
Because she dies. At the end of this fight sequence, she dies. But we do have some pretty disturbing gore with Yuki's hand getting, like, punctured. Also, like, she gets annihilated.
Yeah.
But she walks it off and is like, I'm good.
Yeah, I had that thought. I also noticed that, like, so like
her wounds disappear.
not only that, but like her clothes get slashed up, right? And they're still slashed for a couple of the later scenes, but then like 10 minutes or so after this, her clothes are just back to normal. They're fine.
Yeah, it's obvious this movie was not filmed in chronological order, which
there's
movies are never
visual
filmed
continuity errors
throughout the entirety of this film.
Mm.
And just so everybody knows, the fight sequences were accomplished through compositing and heavy usage of wireworks.
Yeah.
Which one thing that's funny is Yuki's actress, Yumiko Shaku had a week of action acting lessons.
Yeah.
And then she came on the set. So she was like, I don't really know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, this doesn't make sense. Gotta love rushed production, even though the development started in mid-2000 and it was released in December of 2021. Or 2001.
2021. God damn, 20-year production cycle. You'd think she would have learned a couple things.
Yeah. But no, it.
Yeah, you could. I'll say this: they do a decent job in hiding the stunt doubles.
Yes.
But I'll say this: there's shots where she's like flinging around her sword, and it is Yumiko Shaku, and yeah, you can tell she doesn't really know what she's doing.
No, and there's a sequence later where she's on wires and she jumps up onto two trees, but it looks so awkward. Mm-hmm. You're like, it literally looks like the wires pulled her up and she's just stationary.
Yeah, I mean, stuff like that takes years to learn, and it takes time to learn and years to master. Yeah. As someone with like a martial arts, background, I can attest to the fact it takes years to become in any way like truly skillful.
Yeah. So it's obvious this film is kind of, I mean, you have seasoned crew members, but your cast is kind of like they don't really know what they're doing. I
mean, you do have some seasoned actors like the old man, very, very seasoned actor.
You do, but there's also like it just like not in the role he's supposed to be playing. This like Ronin, essentially. That's kind of what he's playing, is a Ronin.
Sort of, yeah.
Which is kind of disappointing. But following all of this, we jump back. Correct me if I'm wrong, but she ends up getting back to the place. She's basically dead, and Takashi helps her. And then we jump into the subplot again, right?
I think it's that the subplot happens Yeah, the subplot happens before this.
Gotcha. So Takashi travels to what I would attest is probably futuristic downtown Tokyo. There's like this bullet train looking train.
Yeah.
Where Takashi meets...
And a bunch of like statues in the background.
Yeah. Very dystopian looking.
Yes.
But the compositing is awful.
I mean, for the budget you're telling me this film had, I think I can forgive it.
Fair. I still gotta point it out, though.
Yeah, I definitely noticed it.
But this is where Shiro Sano, who we might know from a lot of Millennium Godzilla films, makes his appearance. Yeah. Where he sets up the background for Takashi, which gives him a way to relate to Yuki, but also doesn't. So it's basically established that he's a paid-for terrorist.
I mean, yeah, he's one of the like Shirosano's character is like a leader of like the rebellion group that was sort of mentioned in the opening narration.
Which I forgot about.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even realize until like the very end of the movie that he was meant to be the leader of that group, because it's such like a non
issue.
Yeah, it does not. The movie does not do a good job establishing the group. I mean, we only really see like 3 people with any involvement in it,
and a mention of a 4th.
Yeah, a mention of like 2 other people, but that's about it, frankly.
And I think part of that problem is the movie is trying to set up Yuki's backstory. It's not really focusing on her present story.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the issue is as well that this movie, there's a world in this movie, but there's not a lot of world building to it.
Right. It feels like we're missing a lot of context and a lot of information.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I mean, hell, I don't know if this is true. This is pure speculation on my end. But it wouldn't shock me if, like, the title sequence is on its... That, like, opening narration is, like, a last-minute addition just because the film was missing the context. Or, like, they just knew they could not shoot it, at least.
Right. Potentially. I do know that the producer was planning to do a sequel.
Yeah, I heard somewhere there was definitely intent for a sequel, possibly a trilogy, but I don't know how true that is.
I saw it thrown out that it could have been a trilogy, but I didn't see that it was planned for a trilogy.
Yeah, that's sort of what I saw as well.
So it definitely suffers because of that.
Yeah, there are very clearly a lot of missing pieces, which is part of why you and I both complained about this subplot with Shirosano's character not amounting to much at the end of the film.
Right. And it gets kind of weird because it starts to establish a lot of questions, like why did he bomb this place? What was the relevancy of this? Because that's all established when Shirosano's character first appears in the film.
Yeah.
And it's quickly ignored and like left. But when he goes back, he's like, I'm different because I kill people for a reason. You kill people for the money.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like their argument, but
yeah, but don't they when he talks about that, isn't he talking about an entirely different thing though, involving his sister?
She doesn't know his sister actually exists yet.
Yeah, I know, but
yeah, he's insinuating his sister, but I think he's also insinuating like freedom and whatnot. But like the argument too basically is nothing because nobody's acting. They're all just staring and talking.
Yeah.
Like there's no tension.
Expression.
And so like from here, like this is where the movie takes a complete halt.
Yeah.
Because the old guy's dead.
The pacing just slumps completely here.
Because the established potential villain's dead. The obvious secondary villain, the chubbier assassin, is killed. The old guy is no longer alive to dump exposition. Takashi's side story like continues to develop for the rest of the film, but it goes nowhere and does nothing.
Mm-hmm.
The love plot that's clearly supposed to be establishing itself because nobody's acting does not establish itself.
Yeah, it does not resonate at all. Even when it's clearly should be.
Yes.
Like in the whole scene of like him feeding her and her changing clothes and all that. Obviously, it's trying to establish that, but like it just does not resonate at all.
Right, and I felt like the movie's theme was about finding happiness.
Yeah, I guess.
Like towards the end of the movie, it feels like that's like find happiness in life, but it doesn't really achieve that either. Because so at this point, the rest of the film is Sano's character being in the background trying to convince Takashi to do his job. Takashi's like, no, I have things now that I have to do, which is the love plot that doesn't go anywhere. Yumiko's character is trying to figure out her life. And then the evil clan, I'm not going to say the name,
smart decision,
is trying to find her. And at the end of the movie, when she's like about to officially retire that part of her life and dump the clothes, they find her and they fight in the woods. During all of this, Sano's character breaks into Takeshi's house and finds them in the basement where his sister, who Yumiko's character finally learns about, and she begins to grow a bond as well with her.
I should mention, like, up until like the sister like finally meets Yumiko Yuki, I had completely forgotten the sister was even a character in the film.
Right, because she appears
once earlier and just disappears for like a 30-40 minute stretch.
Right, because he asks her what she's doing, she just walks and goes to her, Yumiko.
Yeah.
Stares at her, cuts away. They do bring her up. She asks who is the lady or who is the girl, and Takashi says, it's just me. Clearly he's protecting his sister, which is fine, but then, like you said, 45 minutes go by, that plot point is only alluded to, and nothing really grows until the end, when she finds out about her and they're growing a bond for about 5 minutes until they jump locations. And like, this is where I feel like the film suffers the most, because she's fighting the clan and she's killing all of the people pretty easily. Well, not easily, but like fairly quickly for the amount of people there is.
Yeah.
During this, Sano's character is like basically saying, it's the end of the road for you, Takeshi. I'm killing you because you didn't want to do this job. And this is where Takeshi's like, you're the only one that like wanted us to have happiness, and now we're trying to have happiness and you're telling us no. Yeah. And it's like, dude.
And now he's just Sano's character, I guess, is like working for the government, I guess.
Because he's like, we're going to be diplomatic and figure this all out diplomatically. I'm like, okay, like what is even the plan here? Like, we don't even know what's happening. They don't tell us.
We don't even really know anything about the government itself in this film.
We don't. The only thing we know is that
they have a relationship with the Take Mikazuchi clan. That's about it.
And Yumiko could like take over and bring the world back to.
Yeah, they mention.
I guess like that's what
taking up her role as like a princess, but like that doesn't go anywhere either.
It doesn't. Like, nobody's like, she's the princess besides the clan.
It's forgotten, like, basically after the old man dies.
Right. So she ends up killing everybody in the clan, even the main bad guy.
Yeah.
Which I guess it's because she finds secret powers that Godzilla gives her through the power of his energy. Oh, sorry, that's Final Words.
What an incredible movie.
Peak cinema. Yes. Well, no, she just magically, like, I guess, gets the Force and obliterates the main villain.
I mean, hey, it's a fun fight.
It is fun. It's a very fun fight. There's a lot of fun action sequences. But while this is happening, Shirosano ends up shooting Takashi, and then shoots the sister multiple times. She's clearly dead. He's in pain, and he disappears. And it's like, you can't even like have Yumiko's character like show up as he's shooting them to like off him.
Yeah.
It's obvious he was going to be like an overarching villain. I feel like that's what they were hoping for.
Yeah, I mean, with the sequel intent and the fact that this, this whole subplot does not have a proper resolution, yeah, obviously they were intending on doing something with him in the sequels, but, those never happened.
Right. And it definitely gives me the feeling that Yumiko's character is like that Japanese trope of you lose everybody. And so, you are by yourself. Kind of like Haruo in the anime trilogy, or the Machine Girl in the first Machine Girl movie. She loses everybody she knows, and it's just her. Kind of that trope. I don't know if that's something from Lady Snowblood.
I mean, what's his name? Takeshi's equivalent character in Lady Snowblood does die, but it's in a very different context. In the film, it is with the final villain.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess another example would be like Devilman. Like in Devilman loses everybody he loves.
Mm-hmm.
It's clearly supposed to be that plot idea.
Sure.
But it doesn't work because there's no development here.
Yeah.
And the acting is so shallow that you don't... I don't feel like there's any connections to anybody here.
Yeah.
Not even to the brother-sister relationship, which I've seen that trope in Japanese cinema executed way better in other films.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's just... There's just so little here to it that it just... The deaths of both Takeshi and his sister just ring hollow.
And Yumiko's character ends up getting there just in time for Takeshi to actually die.
Mm-hmm. And so she's finally forced to act by crying, and that's about it.
And then it ends with her accepting her role as Lady Snowblood.
Yeah. So now I guess she's got to go and take revenge again.
But because the movie did poorly, I'm guessing, I actually couldn't find an actual box office number for it. It got canceled.
This film is rather hard to come by, it seems, at the moment.
So with that, the story's over. The movie's done.
Yep. No sequels, so bye-bye, Shirosano.
Now, here's something I didn't understand. On the back of the DVD, it does give 2 quotes. And tell me, Rex, if this sounds like the movie we watched. Bleakly compelling. With its stylized, near-surreal comic book look and roots, The Prince's Blade has all the makings of a cult film. Another quote is, impressively, the balance between the film's meditative pauses and its explosive sword fight scenes, magnificently choreographed by Hong Kong star Donnie Yen, could not be more effective. I feel like they watched a different movie.
You see, minus the Donnie Yen part, I feel like they might have just watched Lady Snowblood from 1973.
Another funny thing about this movie is Takashi's actor, when he was given the script, he actually said, I don't want to be in this. I don't like the title of the movie. And he went to the producer and requested them to change the movie title. And when they didn't, he said, I'm not going to put this on my portfolio. I'm not even going to acknowledge that I'm in this movie.
What? Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Just because he said the title was stupid and he didn't like the script. I'm pretty sure that's what he said. If I remember right, he said he didn't like the script.
What's wrong with the title Lady Snowblood?
I don't know. I don't know.
What, does he have a problem with Mako Kaji or something?
I couldn't tell you. But yeah, this movie, I told you when you picked this to be the birthday episode or the birth month episode that this was a bad choice. Do you see why I said that?
You see, I do, But as a silver lining in that, I actually didn't mind this too much.
Really?
I look. You made it sound like we were gearing up for something god awful.
It is god awful.
You see, I'll agree that it's bad, but I didn't mind it. I had fun.
Okay.
Like the first 30 minutes and the last 15 minutes, the action there was pretty fun. As much as it slowed down in the middle, I wasn't for the most part, I wasn't outright bored. For the most part, I should say. There was like a little stretch just before the finale starts where I'm like, this is dragging on a bit.
I see. See, I literally like I was just in a good mood. That's the only reason I was like able to watch it and like actually pay attention. It was so boring. It's so boring and lacking. I'm just ready for it to be over. I do not like this movie. It was a huge letdown when I first watched it. I think I fell asleep twice trying to watch it. Like it's not a good movie, I don't think. And that's surprising because of the cast and crew. And if you don't mind, I want to go into the cast and crew now.
Okay.
So the screenplay and the director of this, Shinsuke Sato, did Gantz, I Am a Hero, which is a zombie movie, Death Note, Light Up the World, the upcoming live action, and he's doing the upcoming live action adaptation American film for My Hero Academia.
Yeah.
When it comes to Tokusatsu, that's what he did. But he's also done other things. He did a movie called Love Song, which everybody like apparently loves.
Yeah, I mean that film. What I read, that's the premiere of that film was where Yumiko Shaku met the director.
Yes,
and I mean the Takashi's actor Hideaki Ito was, I think, the main actor in that film.
I'm pretty sure he was. Yeah.
Yeah.
The screenplay was co-written by Kei Kunji, which he did a Dragon Ball movie, but the thing that he most did that I recognized was Dragon Ball GT, which I'm pretty sure I haven't watched it in a long time, but I'm pretty sure everybody says Dragon Ball GT is the worst like part of the Dragon Ball franchise, if I remember correctly.
Maybe I don't know. I don't know very much about Dragon Ball. I have not seen it since I was like. I have not seen a lot of Dragon Ball in years.
I'm pretty sure everybody says GT is the worst, if I remember correctly.
I wouldn't know.
As mentioned prior, Shinji Higuchi was the director of special visual effects. The films he directed the effects for include Mika Droid, Robokill Underneath Disco Club Layla, Gamera Guardian of the Universe, Gamera 2 Advent of Legion, Gamera 3 Revenge of Iris, The End of Evangelion, Sayuku Slayer of Demons, and Shin Godzilla. He did miscellaneous or various roles and positions in The Return of Godzilla, Tokyo the Last Megapolis, Orochi's Counterattack, the 8mm film from what's the company called that did
Gynex or Daikon Film.
Yes. He worked on the Giant Robo OVA in the 90s. He worked on
Oh, nice.
He worked on it, yep. He worked on Rex's favorite anime, Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Yes.
He worked on Dragonhead. He was the director of Sinking of Japan. He worked on Hidden Fortress, The Last Princess.
Yes.
He worked on all the Evangelion movies, 1.0, 2.0.
I mean, he's the namesake of the main character.
That's true. That is very true.
Yes, that's where Shinji's name actually came from. Shinji.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh. He co-directed Giant God Warrior Appears in Tokyo, a short film produced by Studio Ghibli that's live action. He worked on Garm Wars, The Last Druid, directed Attack on Titan, the movie Part 1, and Attack on Titan, the movie Part 2.
Attack on Titan anime.
Did he?
Yeah, he storyboarded a sequence that is basically taken straight out of the second movie.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
He worked on the miniseries The 12-Day Tale of the Monster That Died in 8, and he worked on Kamen Rider Black Sun.
Mm-hmm.
And here's I think, your favorite crew member, the producer, Takashige
Ishii. Yeah.
Who worked on Legend of the Stardust Brothers. That was actually his first film he worked on. Tokyo the Last Megapolis, Tokyo the Last War, Spiral, Ring, Ring 2, Ring 0, Birthday, Ju-on the Curse, Ju-on the Curse 2, Gore from Outer Space, Darkwater, Ju-on the Grudge, Ju-on the Grudge 2, Dark Tales of Japan, Kassen, The Grudge, Noroi the Curse, The Grudge 2, Goemon, The Grudge 3, Ju-on Black Ghost, Ju-on White Ghost, Ju-on the Final Curse, The Grudge, and Ju-on Origins. So he's basically the father of J-horror.
He's basically the J-horror director.
Producer. He produced all of this.
Sorry.
And then you have music by Kenji Kawai, who did Unofficial Sentai
Akiba Ranger,
Ultraman Geed, Kamen Rider Build. He works with Motoroshi Oshii, I think that's his name.
Oshii?
Yes, who directed The Red Spectacles, Stray Dogs, Ghost in the Shell, Assault Girls, Garm Wars, The Last Druid, and Avalon. He also did the score for Mika Droid, Robokill Underneath Disco Club Layla, Ring 2.
Okay, I was wondering if you were ignoring the elephant in the room or not.
Darkwater, Kibikichi 2, Death Note, Ultraman Zero, The Revenge of Belial, Gantz Perfect Answer, Kaidan, Tormented, Gamera 2015, and Sayaku Slayer of Demons. So you have a stacked crew here.
Yeah.
As we've been talking about when it comes to the cast, Yumiko Shaku, who's going to be at G-Fest this year, so I'll get to meet her and get her signature. Nice. She was in Godzilla Against Mechagodzilla as Akane, cameoed in Godzilla Tokyo SOS, was in the Tiger Mask, the movie, Kamen Rider Zeo.
She was in that.
And she most recently was in EK Boys, which had special effects by Daisuke Sato, who directed Hell from Beyond the Fog. Huh. He worked on the special effects. Yep.
Interesting. I know it's basically like a Toku fan movie with a lot of Godzilla references.
Yumiko Shaku's going to G-Fest because of that film.
That's cool.
Hideki Ito, who got top billing in this, was in Onmyuji and Onmyuji 2, Pyrokinesis, which is a Shutsuke Kaneko film, Takashi Miike's Terraformers, Kamen Rider 01 as Kamen Rider Eden. Again, as mentioned, we had Shiro Sano, who was in Tokyo The Last Megapolis, Godzilla 2000, GMK, Godzilla Final Wars, Fukushima 50, co-starring with Ken Watanabe, who was in Godzilla and Godzilla King of the Monsters. You have Nezra 1964, Go Cager versus Sheriff Gavin, the movie, 20th Century Boys 1 and 3, The Great Yokai War, Evil Dead Trap 2 Hideki, and the 2006 version of Satomi Hakaneden.
He was also in the Biku movie, which is a Garo spin-off.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I feel like we've talked about that. If you want to also be technical, he was in Evil Dead Trap 3, but that's not actually an Evil Dead Trap movie. That's just the international title.
Huh.
You have Yoichi Numata, who was in Jigoku, Ring 2, Bakaneko, A Vengeful Spirit, Golden Bat, and Ultra Q.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
You
he's a
have
very,
Q.
very prolific actor,
He
especially
is.
in the 40s and 50s.
Very much so. Those are just like his notable Tokusatsu and J-horror.
But like,
yeah,
most his credits are in different films, frankly.
right. He did a lot of samurai films.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. You have Kiyosaku Shimida, who was in Tokyo the Last Megalopolis, Tokyo the Last War, Dragonhead, Devilman, Cutie Honey, Tomie Revenge, Kamen Rider the Next, K20, Shin Godzilla, Shin Ultraman. So there's our Shin Ultraman reference.
I mean, this is the actor we kept connecting every film for like 3 weeks in a row.
We're quite literally going to do his entire. Like, it feels like we've done Devilman, we've done Cutie Honey, Shin Ultraman.
We're just waiting for Media Blasters to re-release the Tokyo Last Megalopolis duology, essentially.
Yeah. And he also was in Seiyaku Slayer of Demons, which I'm pretty sure Shinji Higuchi worked on that film as well.
Oh.
And I think Hideaki Anno did. I've heard of it before. I haven't watched it, but it's a 1998 film with a lot of special like visual effects and practical effects. I'd love to watch that movie myself.
I may have to look into it.
You have Yoko Shosokabe, who is in Ring 2, Noroi, The Curse, The Grudge 2, and the original Demi King, which, for anybody who doesn't know, Demi King was, for most people, they know it as the 2008 movie Demi King the Sea Monster, which was actually a remake of a small independent film from 1998. Yes. It was originally conceived as a 1998 low-budget film that they later did on a bigger budget.
I didn't even know that.
I did my research. At least I tried. You have Yoko Make, who was in Battle Royale 2, which we brought up last week, because Kenji Fukusaku directed a scene in that movie before he passed away. She was also in The Grudge, the American film.
Mm-hmm.
You have Naomasa Musaka, who was in 20th Century Boys 2 and 3. Goemon, The Sinking of Japan, the Shinji Higuchi film. Tokyo Fist, and Tetsuo the Iron Man, Shinya Tsukamoto films. That's right, Tsukamoto's also in Seiyaku Slayer of Demons.
Huh. Interesting.
You have Yutaka Matsushi, who was in Ring, Spiral, Godzilla 2000, Red Shadow, Dragonhead, One Missed Call, Shinobi Heart Under Blade, K20, and most recently, What to Do with a Dead Kaiju.
Yeah.
And finally, you have Takashi Tsukamoto, who's in Onmeyuji, Battle Royale, Godzilla Mothra, King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All Out Attack, and most recently in Nakata's worst adaptation of the Ring movies, Sadako 2019.
Disappointing, Nakata.
So, like, if you look at these actors, they went on to do a lot, but I mean, a lot
some
of these
were already pretty prolific, like Shimada, Shirisano, and Nimata had their fair share of experience. So it's not really an inexperienced cast.
It's just all the acting's dry and boring.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, overall, I don't like this movie. I was very upset that you picked this as, like, my birthday month movie. I'm pretty sure you did that just to mess with me.
Look, it was pretty funny, but I also did genuinely... I was curious about this film. I was like, surely it's not as bad as you made it sound. And to which... It wasn't. It's not the worst thing I've seen. I didn't hate it. I didn't mind it too much. In fact, I found mild entertainment from it. Is how I'll put it.
Now, I will say this: it is very cool to see this 2001 film with so many people that would later go on or were at the time working on Godzilla movies, a lot of the actors were in like Godzilla 2000 and GMK, and this was the first film for.
Even some of the people behind it, like one of the stunt coordinators, would later go on to work on like Godzilla Final Wars. Ironically, working on being involved in the wire work.
Interesting.
Yeah, Yuji Shimomura, whom is actually a good friend of Tak Sakaguchi.
Interesting. So, it is cool to see that stuff. Like, I genuinely like the fact that here you have in 2001, like right as Godzilla's starting to return in the Millennium Era.
Return and then die.
Right. You see these people in their first roles. I think Yumiko Shaku, like, clearly after this movie figured out how to act because she did a great job as Akane.
Yeah.
Granted, I think it was because she had a better script.
Mm-hmm. Possibly better direction too.
Yeah, Tezuka was definitely a better director, I would say, or at least knew what he was doing.
I mean, I have not seen Shinsuke Sato's other films. Have you?
Let me look one more time. I feel like I've seen one or two of his movies. Actually, never mind. I haven't seen Gantz, I Am a Hero, or Death Note, Light Up the World, but they are on my list.
I'm told I Am a Hero is good, but like
likewise,
maybe it's a fault of his direction. I don't know.
This was also very early on in his career. Tezuka, I'm pretty sure, was already pretty seasoned.
Quite possibly, yeah. You could be right.
And while researching this film, I actually found an interview that Yumiko Shaku did, talking about her works, and this was from like 2018. So this was after she did the Godzilla films.
Oh yeah,
and it was really cool to see that she was really honored to be in the Godzilla films. She was very excited to be a name in the history of Godzilla movies, to quote her exactly. And what's funny is before she did Against Mechagodzilla, she actually went and joined the Self-Defense Forces for a trial run to learn how they trained.
Yeah.
Probably more than a week. And I'm sure working on this film kind of helped her with like being a little bit more of an action-y actress.
I mean, from what I read, it's not confirmed, but it is. A lot of people believe that this film is what got her the role as Akane. That it's very likely that either Masaki Tezuka, Shogo Tomoyama, or potentially both of them had seen Princess Blade and saw Yumiko Shaku's performance and thought that she might have been right for the role.
That's right, because Against Mechagodzilla was 2002 and this came out in December. So that would have lined up just in time for production.
Yeah. Or perhaps maybe the casting director saw this film as well, perhaps.
Because, well, after this, she did a drama called Sky High.
Drama/film. Because there's also a film from Ryuhei Kitamura.
But from what I looked, it wasn't related to the Kitamura film.
No, it is. It is.
It is?
Yes, because the TV show has, like, 2 of the episodes of the show are directed by Kitamura.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. At least 2 of the episodes I know are directed by Kitamura.
That's right. She does have top billing. But that was in... So... I'm looking here because I'm curious.
That was after Against Mechagodzilla.
So it was following the series. The show started in 2003. So, yeah, Against Mechagodzilla was following Princess Blade. And then from there, she got the Sky High gig. And then from there, worked on the film with Ryuhei Kitamura, which because of Sky High, he wasn't there for the first 3 months of production on Final Wars.
Oh yeah, I think I have heard that somewhere.
We had a conversation about that once.
Oh, so you were the one. Okay.
Yes, I was.
Okay.
I'm the one that you talked to about Godzilla Rex.
That's true.
Specifically, Ryuei Kitamura in Final Wars.
That's true. How disappointing.
Wow. So, thank you for clarifying that, because I would have felt bad if we didn't bring up she worked on Sky High.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was surprised you hadn't brought it up earlier.
Well, I was going to, but then I was trying to confirm that the series was in relation to the movie, but the page I was on had no mention of Ryuei Kitamura or the movie. So I was like, maybe they're separate.
Disappointing.
I know. But it's cool to see that. Mm-hmm. So at least on a Godzilla standpoint, so when talking about Millennium stuff, after watching Versus and Alive, I understood why Kitamura
I need to watch Alive. God damn it!
Those two films feel like two parts of. I need to see Azumi. I own it. I just need to watch it. But being able to watch these films, I understood why Kitamura got the Final Wars gig.
Oh, so it's really Versus. Cool. You can see a lot of what would come in Final Wars in Versus.
And I'll say this, you can see and hear a lot of the special effects and sound effects in Alive. You see the action in Versus, and then you see the sound and coloring in Alive.
Okay.
And I'd like to see Azumi because I bet that's where you see the special effects.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this is just my theory because, like I said, I haven't seen Azumi, but I feel like those three films, because Sky High was not done before Final Wars went into production, so Toho didn't really have anything to gauge off of that, and he didn't direct Battlefield Baseball. There's also Aragami, which I haven't seen. I don't even know if it's got a release in America, but he did that in between Alive and Azumi. But I have a feeling Azumi, Alive, and Versus are the three components to Final Wars. So seeing Yumiko Shaku do this before against Mechagodzilla, I think is really cool.
Yeah.
I love seeing, because for a lot of the Showa actors, you don't Akira Takarada. Godzilla was his entryway. Momoko Kochi also didn't do a whole lot of acting, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Takashi Shimura, you can see Seven Samurai and Ikaru and some of these other Rashomon, the Kurosawa films. So you see him pre-Godzilla kind of showing his acting talents. But a lot of these actors from the Showa era, you can't see their films. You don't see their pre-Godzilla stuff.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it just frankly is not available, and not enough people know about it / have the interest in making it available.
Right.
For the stuff that does exist for the actors that do have history.
Right. So Shinji Higuchi's another one. Seeing Mika Droid Robokill underneath Disco Club Layla before he did Gamera and whatnot's really cool to see. Seeing Shiro Sano in Evil Dead Trap 2 Hideki and Princess Blade. Those films before and during is really cool to see.
I mean, like him or not, Hideaki Anno, it's undoubtedly interesting to see how the works of Akio Jisoji's Ultraman episodes had an influence on, not only his original creations like Evangelion, but then how he would later come to essentially remake 3 of the biggest Tokusatsu properties.
Right. And Higuchi being with him right there for 2 of those.
Yeah. Sadly not Shin Kamen Rider, though.
Rest in peace, Higuchi's.
At least he got Black Sun.
He did get Black Sun. And another thing is, like, Higuchi's first film, like, credit was on Return of Godzilla. Like, that's really cool to see as a production assistant. Credited. Oh, that's right. But, like, it's cool to see him, like, go from just being a production assistant to doing storyboards and then becoming director of effects for a straight-to-video film and then the Gamera films and then apparently working on GMK for the one sequence, though uncredited. To grow,
and then co-directing a Godzilla film, directing an Ultraman film.
And then designing Kamen Rider Black Sun. Like that. Mm-hmm. That's really cool. And it might just be like my historian side, but I love seeing that stuff. I love being able to say, okay.
No, it's fascinating. It's interesting to see like the evolution of someone's career and style.
Right. And being able to see that up until like Ryuhei Kitamura. I think partly why I appreciate not just Versus and Alive, but Final Wars. Which when people find out that I appreciate Final Wars, they're like, "What's wrong with you? Like, you're crazy." I love seeing Kitamura's style grow. I love that. That is the most rewarding part. And like Yumiko Shaku, seeing her go from this kind of lifeless, emotionless role to Akane is really nice. And I can't wait to see IK Boys?
EK Boys?
EK Boys. Because I'd love to see how she's grown and developed as an actress. Mm-hmm. I can't wait for that. I'm very excited to see that film. Mm-hmm. So there's how I'm going to rationalize, even though I think this movie is awful, that's how I'm going to rationalize the reason to watch it. If not for what's Rex says is fun swordplay and cool choreography, for the just the cool aspect of watching the actress for Akane start her film career.
I mean, I guess for me it also helps that I happen to enjoy that early 2000s style of filmmaking for all its flaws with things like color grading and ridiculous editing at times. It's fun. I like that style. I love Final Wars. I genuinely think watching Final Wars has shaped my taste dramatically.
And I can't wait till we cover that.
That'll be a great episode.
But at that point, we will have covered the last good Godzilla movie.
Well, I'd argue there's at least one more.
Nope.
Well, you just have bad opinions. I have great taste.
You are a fake fan.
I am not a fake fan, actually.
You're not a true fan.
I am a true fan.
And there's the gatekeeping part of this episode. We have officially reached all of the cliches and all of our shticks. Mm-hmm. So at this point, there is one thing left to do. And do you know what that is?
What is it?
Shameless self-promotion.
Oh, well, that's crazy. Well, dear viewer, if you are enjoying this and you want to check out some of my stuff, go on YouTube, subscribe to @RexXeno, follow @Rex_Xenomorph on Twitter, and also follow Rex_Xeno on Instagram. And if you would like to check out some of my writing, go check out the Tokusatsu Network.
And as for me, you can find me on YouTube @ET13 Productions, on Twitter @ET13 Productions, and on Instagram @ET13 Productions. If you want to find my personal accounts, I'm not going to tell you how, but it's pretty easy to locate. I feel like I've said this 3 times now tonight. It's really weird.
I wonder why.
I do too. And as for the podcast, don't forget to rate us on iTunes. That helps us boost our ratings and helps us get recommended to more people just like you. If you don't have an Apple device, which I don't blame you, I don't. Kind of, that's actually a lie. I use a MacBook to do this podcast and edit this podcast occasionally. But you can also rate us on Spotify. That's a new feature they allow. If you want to stay up to date with all things Kaiju Conversation related, follow us on Twitter at KAIJU_CONVERS. If you don't have Twitter, which, some people definitely don't want to have Twitter, you can follow us on Instagram or like us on Facebook. If you're like me before podcasting and you don't have any social media, lucky you, you can email us at kaijuconversation@gmail.com, all lowercase, all one word, you know the drill. And as always, we'll read your reviews on air for everyone to hear. We did get review bombs, so we're sitting at a solid 3.1. So if we could bump that up to maybe like a 4.2, I feel like we're a 4.2, at least for the amount of content we put out. That'd be perfect.
Especially recently.
Yeah. We also have a Teespring store. Eventually, we'll have original artwork on there, but until then, you can sport our awesome logo on a t-shirt or maybe even a coffee mug. If you'd like to chat with us, check out our Discord server full of others that have similar interests to you. Recently, the discussion had in our General 1 chat appears to be all about... Let's see here. MF Doom and his Ghidorah album. It's titled Take Me to Your Leader. He released it under the name King Ghidorah. That features a ton of samples from Showa Godzilla dubs.
Huh.
So there's an interesting conversation that you definitely wouldn't hear typically. It's a great community full of great people. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you can be notified anytime we upload a video. We sometimes post exclusives to the channel like bloopers for episodes, and this episode definitely there's some funny bloopers, let me tell you. Or minisodes talking about news or other subjects. We also have an interview with Mechagodzilla designer Jared Krzyzewski on the channel. I probably butchered his name, and I apologize for that.
As you should.
And a huge thanks to Rex for editing all of these episodes and the other content we upload. He does a lot of hard work, so please support him. His links can be found in the description below. Along with Rex, we'd like to give a huge thanks and shout out to Danny DeManna of the Godzilla Novelization Project for his amazing vocals in our theme song. You can support him by following him on Twitter at Danzilla93_GNP or visit his website GodzillaNovelizationProject.com. And a huge thanks to Gratton Conwell from the podcast Giant Monster BS for composing the music for our theme song. You can support him by following the podcast on Twitter at Giant Monster BS or on any podcasting platform under the name Giant Monster BS. And with that, we're going to wrap things up here, so thank you guys so much for listening, and as always, please remember, life's too short to not talk big. Bye, guys.
Bye.
We are set, we are in debt, there's nothing to sweat. Life's too short now, baby. Kaiju, not big now, baby. Conversation. His name's Elijah, baby. And also Rex now, baby. We love those kaiju, baby. And you will too now.